Miss Renee back. It's Sunday, y'all. Nope, it's Sunday.
Put it at the top.
Yeah, it's Sunday, end of a week. We on step 10. We're gonna get busy, and we're gonna tell it like it is, and we're gonna give God the Most High, His praise for being in our lives and in the 12-step program. Most gracious Heavenly Father, I thank you, the God of my understanding. I thank you. I thank you for patience. I thank you for grace. I thank you for humbleness. I thank you for forgiveness. I thank you for worth. I thank you for joy. I thank you for the peace. I thank you for just waking us up, letting us go about our day. And thank you for allowing us to stay clean another day. Thank you to the inpatient, outpatient, the treatment facilities. Thank you for outpatient, people's coming in, going to their treatment. Thank you for the men's recovery house all over the world, the women's recovery house. Thank you for the counselors. Thank you for the counselors all over the world and all of these facilities that make it good for the people that's struggling to come in and understand this addiction. And I'm so grateful for that. I'm so grateful that you helped introduce me to the 12 Steps of Narcotics Anonymous program. CANAAA. I did it all. And through your hands, I thank you. My God, my God. Hey, now, how is everybody doing? I'm doing good. I thank you all, whoever comes up on this site, and I appreciate it. For the ones that's struggling or the ones that's hiding and is in denial, but still coming on here to hear what the message of how the addiction works and how recovery works. I thank you too, because you're going to get it. Don't keep hurting yourself. And because we get clean, that don't mean that we still won't go through nothing. It don't mean that we still won't get our feelings hurt. It don't mean when we try to do something good and somebody try to turn it to evil. It don't mean that we have to lay down and just take all the punches. Now we got something to fight with, and that's the 12-step program. And we are on step 10, y'all. Continue to take a personal inventory, and when we were wrong, properly admit it. We talked that many, many times. I've taught that many times, and I always find something different when I talk about that step, because that step is containing with a lot of courage. Is taking a lot of. We went through a lot of disappointments. We went to, the step talks about perseverance, difficulties. I'm just thinking all the things that I went through to get to this step and past the step. Thank you for I went through the discouragement. I went through determination. I went through a whole lot of things, and so do you. Because if you work in a program and you clean and you got to step 10, then that means you went through something to get to step 10. My auntie is on here. Hey, Auntie Wanda. Nene is on here. So step 10, step 10 is a good step because, when you get to 10, taking that personal inventory and being honest with yourself, we have took a lot of personal inventory of ourselves. But when we did that, we was dishonest about our findings. Until we came into the recovery and learned about how step 10s work, then we had to get honest with step 10. I did. I had to really face some things that I didn't want to face. I had to, I played myself a lot of times dealing with relationships that I knew wasn't good for me, and I knew that was hurting me. I knew that was putting me in the danger zone. I went through a lot of hurting myself, and step 10 talks about to continue, even though we get clean. Hey, Nene, still standing. Go on, girl. I'm so proud of you. So proud of you. And I learned that in step 10, even when we get clean and come into it and get like a year clean time, 18 months, 6 months, 30 days, we still have to take that personal inventory. Because we still make mistakes. But they ain't like the mistakes we was making when we was using. When we get clean, everything becomes different, but we still have to continue to do what we need to do in order to keep pushing it on. Or like she says, keep standing. When we come into recovery, we don't know nothing about step 10. All we know, we read it. Some people go through it. I'm working with 2 girls now that don't know nothing about how to work the steps. They reading it, but they don't understand how to work the step and apply it to their lives. And one of them said, well, I ain't even got to step 10. I said, there's no way you can get to step 10, baby, and you only got 60 days clean. There's no way you can get that. You're going to stay on one for a long time, and you have to admit, and you have to do some acceptance, and you have to do some letting go. You have to do the surrendering part. You stay on that step for a minute and see how you work. But step 10 is for, when we come into recovery and we get that year clean time and we think we want to move and just kind of study and go over with our sponsor. I done went over this with my sponsor several times. And every time I went through step 10, taking that personal inventory, and when I was wrong, properly admitted it, sometimes, when I and my sponsor sit down and talk, she said, well, it's a lot of things that you're going to want to admit, promptly admit, like when you really hurt somebody, but sometimes we get lazy and we don't do it right away, and I'm keeping that real. Sometimes we want to go and really confront that issue and promptly tell somebody when we was wrong, but we get lazy because, one, we don't know their reaction. We don't know how they're going to accept it. And we still have that fear factor when we come in step 10. Some people, when they do step 10 ain't no joke. Step 10 tells you that you have to do a personal inventory daily. I mean, from family members, kids, from peoples in general, and when I got to step 10, me and my sponsor went over that, and, that promptly admitted it. I knew I was wrong on a lot of things, but I wasn't ready to go to nobody and promptly admit that, but now I have lashed out and said something or to somebody, and I have, this recovery has taught me enough courage to go right away and say, look, I'm sorry if I hurt your feelings or if I came on you wrong. I apologize. I had to do what the program tells you to do. You have to follow the steps in order to learn how the steps work and in order to recover and stay clean. But this personal inventory, had really kind of put me at a standstill for a minute, because that means that now I got to go back and deal with some things that I didn't like about me. It was a lot of things I didn't like about me. I didn't like how, take a personal inventory. I didn't like how, You know, sometimes I put my kids in harm's way. I didn't like how I let people take advantage of me. I didn't like how I became self-centered, and let my ego get in the way. You know, I didn't like how I thought I didn't need nobody. I thought I can do it on my own. You know, I had to think about the times I let people really make me feel so low because I cared about them or I loved them, or you know, I wanted to stay in that darkness. I wanted to stay in that commitment. I wanted to stay with you hurting me, you know, and I couldn't understand that. So when I did the inventory, I was looking back over my life and I was saying, wow, why did I allow myself to let somebody take me away from me? You know, but then I understand the disease of an addiction will allow that to happen, because the disease of an addiction wants you to die anyway. So I had to learn that the disease with that chemical dependency, still wanting drugs, still wanting drinking, you know, I still let people hurt me, you know, because people tell me all the time, hurt people, and that is so true. Don't let nobody tell you that ain't true, because when we hurt and we navigate ourselves to accept hurting, it's a lifetime thing for us. You know, it became an everyday thing for me. You know, I hurted myself every day that I woke up. And, you know, that's why I tell you, you know, this step is very deep, because if you're doing an honest and working an honest program, and we talk about all the dishonest things that we did and what ugly things that we did to get our drug of choice, it's very painful. It's very painful how we let that disease of an addiction take us away from our kids, or not being there, or being there and not there for our kids. How we sold ourselves short. You know, how we did things that we normally wouldn't have done if we wasn't under the influence of the disease of an addiction. So when I look back over our lives and we see everybody got different bottoms, and ain't nobody's bottom's the same. The only bottom that I think is the same with us is an addiction. You know, that we all can relate to the disease of an addiction. And I had to work on a lot of things doing personal inventory. How did I let my ego get in the way so bad to where I thought I can keep doing drugs and keep drinking and keep popping pills, whatever? How did I let it get so bad? I know the disease of an addiction. What was I running from? Why did I take myself so low to do the things that I did to hurt me over and over again? Well, the disease of an addiction tells us that, you know, when we come to a place to admit that we are powerless, I realized that I was powerless, and I had to accept of letting go of the things that I've been used to doing every day in my life. And I had to find a way of, you know, so now taking a personal inventory means I had to deal with some things that hurted me, and I had to deal with some things that I hurt somebody else, or I hurt me. You know, it took courage. Hey, Selena, my sister Selena Green is on here. Evangelist Selena Green comes on Tuesday nights, and she preached the word, y'all. So if you want to get blessed, go on Tuesday night. Evangelist Selena Green. And I had to learn that, you know, step 10 is a step that really makes you think. It makes you really think how honest that you are being with yourself. And we know with step 10, it says, you know, I had to find some courage to deal with step 10, because step 10 was the step that made me realize I was all over the place. You know, I wasn't even me no more. You know, I was used to hurt. I was used to pain. I was used to discouragement. I was used to neglect. I was used to letting people use me. I just didn't do right. I just didn't. Hey, Johnson, how you doing? I just didn't do right. I was lost. You know how they say you was lost, but now I'm found. I'm found now. But when I'm talking about, you know, taking that step 10 and doing that inventory back then when I was using, you know, when I go back and I look back over my life and we go to, and it ain't just me, we talking about you too. When you go back and you look back over your life, how did I go? Why was I always letting something take control over me? Why? Was I hurt that bad? Was I broke that bad? Was I broken that bad? To where I just let things happen? I didn't care, you know, and I go back and I look back, and when I remember going into the hospital, and I remember the counselors asking me, he said, "What broke you so bad?" And I just looked at him with these tears in his eyes. He said, "What broke you to the point to where you neglected yourself for all them years?" Now, we understand the disease of an addiction is the chemical dependency that keeps us urging and want to keep doing the drugs. But what made us settle for less year after year, knowing that the drugs was the biggest part of it, and how can we change? And when he asked me, what bottom did you hit so bad that you just didn't never want to stop using? And I looked at him, I told him, well, it was too many bottoms. You know, and I was the main bottom. I was at the bottom. You know, I was at the bottom to where, you know, taking that personal inventory, and, you know, taking that personal inventory mean that I knew that I wasn't connected to the God of my understanding like I should have been. That was the first thing. I knew that. Didn't nobody have to tell me. My sponsor didn't have to tell me. I wasn't connected to the God of my understanding for a long time. You know, I had really put him on the shelf and only wanted him when it was comfortable for me. You know, and so I had to find a way to deal with that. I had to find a way to tell the God of my understanding that, you know, I was so sorry. I told you that step 10 was deep for me, you know, because step 10 taught me, you know, how to learn how to build courage up, learn how to identify what was hurting me, learn how to give up something to gain so much. You know, and what did I give up? Oh, I gave up a lot of stuff. I gave up peoples. I gave up lying to myself. I gave up, you know, not wanting to do nothing. I gave up disrespecting myself. I gave up stealing. I gave up a lot of stuff. But, you know, when I look back now, and when I get on this step 10, I was laying in my bed going over step 10, and I'm like, that personal inventory, man, that inventory that we must do in order to move on. See, because you got to do these steps to move on. You can't just, you know, stay stuck on a step and not moving on. I had to learn how to take the right and the wrong. I played both parts. I thought I was right. I did the wrong. But making wrong turn into right. I had to learn how to do that. And the 10th step tells us that we have to promptly admit when we wrong. You know, but we can promptly admit, and we can put it in our heads, but that don't mean we finna admit it right away. We'll visit it, we'll think about it, because I'm telling you what I did. It was a lot of wrongs that I know I was wrong about, but I didn't deal with it. I wasn't ready. I just wasn't ready. That fear factor was still there. You know, that insecurity was still there. you know, the unknown of how a person is going to act when I'm properly admitting something to them, but I commit to myself what I was doing wrong. That was okay for me to go do an inventory and realize I did a lot of, I was terrible. People say, how can addicts be terrible? Oh, yes, we can. We can get to the lowest in our addiction. I mean, if the walls could talk, if the walls could really talk and tell the truth, we did us wrong. And this is what the 12-step is, letting us know that we can always encourage ourselves to do better and do right. And it got to a point I was tired of doing wrong. It got to a point that I was tired of me feeling that I was living a lie. And when I did the inventory, man, the inventory for me, I don't know about you all, but I know for me, it was very painful for me. And there was a lot of times I had to stop. It was a lot of times I go outside and I sit in the car or I sit at the park and I go back thinking about all the stuff that I did. And I'm like, man, Renee, why are you still alive? How you put yourself in harm's way up under the influence of the drugs and alcohol? How? Did God love me so much that he helped me out at that point when my life was in danger because of the things that I had did? I let the drugs take me to different high levels of my life. I know what the low feel like, and I know what coming up feel like. But I love the high that I am now, because the high that I am now has took me many places in life to realize that everything that I took for granted, I don't take for granted no more. How I look at a situation, and even if I messed up in that situation, now I suck it up. I did something today, to try to help somebody, try to help us. I'll put it that way. And it didn't work out. It didn't work out. And this person have helped us before, and it didn't work out. And he have came in and played before and helped us. And I respect my friend. He's a pastor, and he did something for me, to help, the situation we was in. And it didn't work out. And I felt so bad. I felt so bad. Because I was trying to do something good. And that's what I'm talking about. Even in recovery, when you're trying to do good, people can make you feel like you did something wrong, or how could it be wrong when this person have did it before, when something didn't go right. But anyway, I sucked it up. But in order, at first, I was stuck. But I had to take an inventory. And then I was okay. Sometimes we have to suck things up. Sometimes people that we love or think they love us, or people that we know, or people that we care about, can say something or do something, and we lash out, or we get mad, or we get angry. But patience have taught me to think. And I didn't used to think. I couldn't think. When I was on drugs, couldn't nobody think. All we did was use. All we did was use to live and live to use. And all we did was to wanting to get high. So, the growth that we get in recovery is amazing. I don't know about y'all, but the growth that I've learned to get in the things that I can accept, and I can promptly admit that when I was wrong, and identify with it. I used to couldn't identify with nothing that I did was wrong, or something I thought was doing right that made me feel like I was wrong. I go get high. But see, I told you how my high days over with. The high that I get now is natural high. You know, and it's from the God of my understanding. And I thank God for the 12-step program, because it had really taught me how to nurture me. You know, I'm so grateful for all the difficulties I went through. You went through the difficulty, the shame, you know, losing your peace, losing your joy, you know, and then all of a sudden we take this inventory and we start working on the things that we need to focus on and work on all the wrong things we did. Take a personal, you know, and sometimes taking a personal inventory of yourself will make you say to yourself, how did I allow that to happen? And how did it happen so long? Why did I stay in? I know it's dealing with the drugs, but what was I running from? What was I needing? What was going on with me that I did the same thing every day for all them years? So you have to kind of take a personal inventory, and I wanted to say to Pastor Ray, thank you. I love you so much. I know you meant well. I meant well, but thank you. I love you, bro. Thank you. But I know that taking a personal inventory will take you down the road, because now you got to get butt naked. Now you got to. Let me tell you something about taking a personal inventory. Personal inventory means you got to go somewhere, you got to be alone, and you got to sit back and think. And as you going down that traveling train, that train is still moving, but you still can take an inventory of everything while that train. You got all these different things. You got all these different things going on while that train is moving. You got all these guilt, you know, you got all the stuff that's hurt you. You got all the stuff that you made, you know, we made our way through now, because we to recovery now. So when I had to do when we have to come to a point to do a personal inventory, that means looking at that situation in our situation. Because some things that I allowed to happen and cause other people's to not let me let it happen, I played a part in that too. So sometimes when people do ugly things, we have to look at our situation, because most addicts to me are so good-hearted people. Genuine good-hearted. Because you know why? We've been broken. We the one that's been hurt. We the one that hurt ourselves. The biggest hurt that we allowed to happen was us hurting ourselves. Now let's go back down to the memory lane of taking a personal inventory. And when you take a personal inventory, that means you got to go back down all the things that you know that you need to do or work on, or you need to look at. But the first thing I dealt with, what was going on with me that made me do the things that I did. I know the drug. That's number one. But we're going to move that out the way. What took me to the drug? What brought me to the point where I depended on something else to help me through the day, because I no longer had the control? And that's a bad feeling when you think you ain't got no control, you ain't got no say-so. You let the chemical dependency of the drug come into your life and just take over. People struggling right now. I see it every time I'm on YouTube, I go on Facebook, and, you know, people's just hurting. You know, it's okay to laugh. I laugh. Oh, boy, do I laugh at some of the stuff they put on there. You know, but then I'm sad for a lot of the sad stuff that's on there. So you got a deja vu going on. You've been in that sad part. You've been in that happy part. You've been in that mode of feeling both parts. You know, it's like an up and down thing. You laugh, sad, funny, disgusted. You know, so sometimes I have to get off of it because it takes me many up, down, middle, sideways, you know, and I have to sometimes stay off of it, you know. But I always try to look at the addiction part, you know, and I always try to look at who's struggling and reach out and give a message to them that it is hope. You know, step 10 definitely tells us every day, you know, we must do a personal inventory. I do. It don't say, it says continue to take. For me, it's every day. It don't say that in the steps. It says continue to take. To me, continue means don't stop. So I have to take a personal inventory of how my day went and what part did I play. But now in these steps, I must go past that. I must go in the past, deep in the past, to bring it to the present so I can work on it. Because if I don't work on taking a personal inventory and admit to the wrongs that I did in that inventory, or some people I just ain't, you know, it was some people that I wanted to say I'm sorry to. I got clean, and I don't think I'm gonna ever be ready. I ain't gonna lie. I ain't gonna ever be ready to promptly admit to them. I'm not, you know, because some of them people's crazy. Because when I was doing drugs, I was crazy. So when I did the wrong, I still was in my addiction. And some of the things I'm not going, because some of them people's, you know, is crazy or done got crazier. So I ain't finna promptly go and admit to you, I just can't do it. It's in the ones that I can do it with them, the ones I'm gonna work on, and I'm gonna continue to take a personal inventory of me. Of me. Cause this right here talks about we did a lot of years to become a doormat. And you know, a doormat is something that you put a mat on the floor. You know, and I was a doormat for many, many years. I was a doormat for a lot of people. I was a doormat for me mainly, because I let everybody step on me. I'm under the influence of drugs. I'm under the influence of alcohol. You know, I found myself getting mad when a person make a promise or somebody say something. You know, I look at that and I go on that. But everybody ain't worked on what I worked on, so everybody ain't where I'm at. And I hate when I feel like I'm being played. But, you know, how can you be played when you clean? Because any decision you made it. But the other person don't take, you know, and I'm talking about somebody that I love very deeply, that I created. You know, when a person make a promise and say something and you do it, I always look at him, you know, and I get mad, but then I have to take a personal inventory of that. I have to look at that. Okay, well, once you did it, you know, it ain't yours no more. So, and because he made a promise, you can't control that. I mean, I'm just so grateful that I found a new way to turn things around that benefits me, that I don't get depressed or I don't get hurt or I won't wobble in it. Because, you know, most addicts, we learn how to wobble and stuff. We learn how not to shut it off, to keep it going. You know, and see, that was my addiction part when I was using. Hey, Charlotte, when I was using, that was my addiction part. You know, not shutting off, taking a personal inventory now is amazing for me. You know, because when I was using, I can go back down memory lane, and the more I went back and the more I did a personal inventory or just thinking about something, still kept me using because I was up under the influence of drugs and alcohol. Hey, Charlotte, how you doing, baby? Good to see you. But it's different now. Because see, now once you get clean, once you come into a new world of you have the God of my understanding is definitely down for me and for you too. And then all of a sudden you learn how to work a program that can help you go back into your past and take a personal inventory. But see, I take personal inventory in the past and I take personal inventories in the present. Because sometimes, and you can't do it all at once. So sometimes I can be sitting outside doing something and the past will come up and I think about that and I look at that personal inventory of why am I going back by there? Because going back in the past, present, taking that personal inventory of me can help me in the present. And it has. So taking that, it says continue to take a personal inventory. And when we are wrong, promptly admit it. I have promptly admitted a lot of stuff since I've been clean. So don't think, because you get clean, that you can stop taking a personal inventory. Because we still make mistakes, we still hurt people, even in being clean. See, being clean don't mean you perfect. It means that you better. It don't mean that you better than, it don't mean that you perfect more than anybody in the world. It just means that you working on something to reserve yourself to be better than you ever thought you can be. And one thing I learned about this step right here, this step shows me growth. This step shows me determination. This step shows me ability to change. This step right here shows me courage. And all them possibilities that anything that's been one way can be changed a whole nother way. Continue. And I do that now. I take a personal inventory and I've had to go to some people. I went to two people just recently and properly admitted some things that I was wrong in. And I'm okay with that. Because that's what the 12 steps of Narcotics Anonymous suggest us to do. It's in the step. But some people don't want to do that. Some people think they can just work a program. And I'm telling you what I talk to, like some of the girls that I'm dealing with now, 2 of them, they clean. They ain't using. They go to a meeting. And I ain't going to say they ain't working on nothing, because anytime you go to a meeting, you're doing something. But are you applying yourself? Are you really applying yourself? Are you going to the meeting just to hear somebody else talk? Or you say a few little words? Or are you applying yourself in that meeting? Or around that meeting? Turning your wrongs into right. That's what I had to learn about the 10th step. And properly admitted that I done grow now. We have growth. Now I can promptly admit when I was wrong. I can admit it to myself. Because sometimes I can be driving. I'm like, dang, Renee, why you do that? Or why you even think that? But see, that lets me know that I'm not perfect. I'm just better than I was. And when you get better than you was, it's the best gift you can give yourself. Because when you stop letting other people hurt you and you learn how to talk and properly admit some things that you did or you wish you hadn't have done, man, that's growth. That is so much growth. So I've came a long ways to know the difference. To know that, when you find yourself running short, people think, people think because we go church or whoever you choose to call your God. I know who my God is. And we think that we get dressed up and we go to church don't mean that we still have issues. And it don't mean that we still struggle with some things in our lives, whether it's death, whether it's family, whether it's letting go of something, whether it's and I find myself, even in recovery, we still have them different obstacles, things that we gonna deal with, because remember, we don't get perfect, we just get better. And I had to learn the difference. Perfect is mean you make no mistakes. You perfect in everywhere, every area. And that's not me. I'm not perfect. Because if I was perfect, I would never have been using drugs. If I was perfect, I would have never been stealing and lying. Perfect is me, you perfect in all areas. And that is not me at all. That means I'm getting better. I'm working on something. I'm dealing with something. I'm okay making different changes in my life. So me dealing with drugs and alcohol no more is a gift. And don't let nobody try to steal your joy and take that gift away from you. Only you can take it away from you. If you're going to continue to keep using, and you're not taking continue to take a personal inventory even in your recovery, then something's going to come up short. So I had to learn to take a personal inventory, like, take an inventory of, how my day went, and what happened that I didn't like. What did I have to visit back that bothered me in that day? I did so many ugly things to where it's the gift of life again. The gift of a knowledge to know that we have courage. We are stronger than we know. Really. You don't know how strong you are until you've been broken. You don't know how strong you are until something that almost took you out and something that broke you so bad, but you're overcomer. I look at my life now, and we look at our lives and we say, what happened? I was so broken. I was battling with brokenness. I was battling with depression. I was battling with alcohol. I was battling with anything that made me feel good, and I let it take control over my life. And I had to realize the outcome of it was, thank you for my difficulties. Thank you for the brokenness. Thank you for the bottoms. Because had I not visited all them different categories, I wouldn't be better. I'm so much better. And I don't let nobody else make me feel that I'm not. I'm not perfect, but I'm better. I'm better than I was. We as recovering addicts, as we do step 10, when you can promptly go and admit to somebody that you did something wrong, you better. Because when I was using, I ain't telling you nothing. If I did you wrong, I did it. I ain't finna promptly tell you nothing. If I stole some money from you and I know it was wrong, I'm not finna promptly come and tell you I done stole $100 from you and I'm in the addiction. I ain't finna do it. But see, this step here tells you got to. In order to recover and to be honest, you have to. And that's why I tell you I'm so grateful. When we come into the Narcotics Anonymous program, it is to let us know that we are aware of everything we are doing. And we know, and the difference is that I like about step 10, it makes us aware of where we at in our lives. Because if I can promptly go admit to you, now I'm not finna promptly go, I'm not going to properly go admit to you that I just don't think you like me. I can think it. But I ain't finna come and tell you. But see, when I was using, I tell you that. I can't stand you. You make me sick. I don't like you. I had to promptly go and do some things that I knew I was wrong doing, but it could have took my life, so I didn't. Continue to take a personal inventory means you growing, and you know we need to grow. We're in the world of division right now. We're in the world to where, you know, where we doing pretty good, somebody doing way worse than us. We're in the world now where peoples are being divided. You know, peoples ain't happy no more. A lot of depression going on. You know, people's just using fentanyl. I keep hearing this fentanyl. Every time you turn the thing, people's is dying from fentanyl, but they dying from alcohol too, liver disease. They dying from cirrhosis of the liver, you know, because of the alcohol, the depression. People's is taking their own lives. People's is dying in the inside because they have no hope. They have no structure. They have no faith. They have no accountability within themselves that they can change. You know, see, this step is about changing. And you have to continue to take a person's inventory so you'll know what you're doing wrong and what you're doing right. You have to. Because if you know you're doing wrong and you don't continue to take a personal inventory and you do nothing about your wrong, then that means you stop growing. That means you stop working on yourself. That means you just don't care. Now, and I'm scared of that. I don't ever want to get like that. Because if I get like that, then something is going on with me. I don't ever want to get to where I don't give a doggone. I don't have that, you know, I get attitude. Okay, yeah, oh boy, I'm so grateful that I'm not like I used to be. I'm so grateful that I can get on here and tell you that I know I have changed. I can get on here and tell you that. I don't care if you don't see it. I don't care if you don't believe me. I don't care. I believe me. And the reason that's good for me, because when I was using, I didn't believe me. So whatever you think about me, that's fine. You know, it's a lot of peoples right now. A lot of peoples, and I'm going to tell you something, it's a lot of peoples right now get in my face and act like they like me. But because you talk about me to other peoples and they come and tell me, I could promptly go and say the way I'm feeling, stay the heck out of my face because I'm tired of you talking about. But see, I don't care. But see, recovery takes you to a place to where everything you used to hold on to keep you using, you let go to keep you winning. So I ain't selling them for less. But I just ain't feeding into no bullcrap. I do what is best for me. And if I gotta let some peoples go, if I gotta let, I definitely had to deal with ego. I definitely had to deal with impulsiveness, selfishness. Because see, selfishness, when you dealing in this step 10, your self-centeredness won't allow you to continue to do a personal inventory. So I have to do a personal inventory to keep me well. You know, I have to admit to myself when I done something wrong. Because if I keep doing something wrong and I don't promptly address it or continue to take a personal inventory, you know, I'm slipping. I'm slipping. So my thing is, Step 10 opened some doors for me that I thought would have always been closed for the rest of my life. But taking a personal inventory of my actions, my behavior, my character defect, my personality, it has taught me to humbly change and take care of me. I love being clean. That's the greatest gift God gave me other than the birth and him and my mother and kids. I found a new way to look at things. I found a new way to deal with things. I found a new way to let go of things. And I thought I would never get there. But when you let go of drugs and alcohol or pills or whatever the struggle is, y'all gonna have to get it sometime or another, or either you're gonna die. Or either you're gonna be feeling like laying up in the hospital like you wish you was dead. Drugs and alcohol is no joke. And I see too many teenagers on drugs, on fentanyl, on alcohol. I get too many calls from my clients that got their kids that's going through addiction, and it's sad. The sad part about it, if they didn't bring it to the United States, we couldn't do it. But so now that we face with they bring it here to the United States, it's up to our choice to make a difference than not using it. Drugs, it becomes addiction. And then we have other hidden addictions that caused us to go to the drug in the first place. And mine had all to deal with pain. Pain. All to do with pain. Because I never knew how to work on pain. All I did was got high and let the drugs take over my life. And I became wicked. Very wicked. Very disappointed. Very dishonest. Very not caring. Act like I'm okay. Act like I'm cool. Act like I'm good. But in the inside, I was drowning. In the inside, I was broken. In the inside, I didn't think I could ever get fixed. I just thought I would be using any kind of drugs, any kind of alcohol for the rest of my life. Until the God of my understanding helped me to connect with Him. And I started feeling Him, and I started talking to Him, and I started honoring Him, and I started going to the meetings, and I started, every possibility that somebody told me that I wasn't nothing or I couldn't change. Don't let nobody tear you down like that. Don't let nobody tear you down. Just because a person don't love you like you love them don't mean that they better than you. It just means that you woke up. I tell people all the time, y'all do too much. This person don't want you. You see, when people love you, they don't hurt you. When people love you, they don't do things or say things that is going to break you or hurt you. They don't do stuff like that. But when the hurt people is already hurt and they don't have the tools that we have to deal with, then they get worse and worse. And the only one that can really break us sometimes is the people that we love and care about the most. And they can make us feel the worst of the worst. Because, family members can really, it's a struggle when you get clean. Yeah, it's a struggle when you get clean. Because the very person that you think that love you will be the very person that stabbed you. That's why I have to take a personal inventory. Because I know for a fact that the greatest pain that was given to me was through family. I ain't gonna lie. And the greatest gift that was given to me from God was healing. The 12th step taught me how to heal, how to forgive myself, because I ain't ugly no more. You ain't ugly no more neither. You first got to start with yourself. Everything that broke you, everything that thought they had a health on you, everything that hurt you, everything that crumbled you, everything that took over in you, healing. I have my peace back. I have my joys back. Thank God. You know, y'all, I'm going to behave and get off here on time so I can go and fry my fish and chill out with my family. Amen. It's Sunday dinner, soul food time over here. Thank y'all so very much. Step 10, take a personal inventory of yourself every day if you can. You know, because then that's where your growth come from. Anybody that hurted you today, don't hurt them back. Because then that means you ain't working on nothing. Love yourself. Be kind. Be nice. Sometimes when we think we're doing the right thing, can end up being the wrong thing. But thank God for wisdom to know the difference. Yeah. Thank God for wisdom to know the difference. Y'all stay blessed. Everybody has been blessed to go through a whole nother week. Now we finna start a beginning week. I love you. Tell if ain't nobody told you they love you today, tell them that Renee, Mama Tutu, say they love you. And I'll see y'all next week. We'll be on step 11, start through prayer and meditation to improve the continuous contact with God. As we understood Him, praying for the knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. Now that's a good step. Because we're talking about many different steps and many different things. So I'll see y'all next Friday at 8 o'clock. And I love you guys. And do something nice and kind for someone today. Have a good week. See you soon. Love y'all.